We have a huge Divisional Cup finals this week, and I want to talk about who made finals and who's dropping where, because we now have Peterbot and Poyo being contested. Do I still think they can win finals? And if not, who do I think is going to bring it home? I also want to talk about some of the big names that are struggling. Mr. Savage and Mongrel missing out on finals, Queasy struggling to lock down a duo, and Thomas HD talking about why he doesn't want to play with them anymore. There's a lot to talk about. Let's jump into it. All right, let's talk about who made finals and where they're dropping. Now, to kick off, our big name player, our global championship player, Queasy, still struggling to kind of find his footing since duos has come about. Queasy now picking up Thomas HD. A lot of people questioning this choice, saying Thomas HD didn't make the globals. He's not on Queasy's level anymore, but Queasy and Thomas HD have a lot of history. They came second place at the LAN before last. So I know Thomas had a bit of a rough year, but again, Thomas was only one place off getting globals in season 2. So it's not like Thomas had a terrible year. It just hasn't been a great year by Thomas's standards, but Queasy happy to run it back, happy to give him a chance, and things haven't gone particularly well. Now, I don't know if this means Queasy and Thomas HD are going to split up. They came 68th overall, so they were 18 places off making finals, but they've had a few issues. Now, some of these have been tech issues. Queasy was having issues with his PC, so I don't think he played the best of his potential, and they didn't get to start day 2 on time anyways. There's been a bit of drama there, but there are a few things that you might have seen on Twitter kind of pointing towards the fact this duo probably will split. And I'll let Thomas HD speak for himself here on why he doesn't want to play with Queasy right now.
I'm not playing anymore on stream, by the way. Never again. I'm not playing anymore. So you have to find someone else if you want to stream. I'm not gonna lie.
What, no comms even?
You can stream 10 minutes delay and no comms and I'm down.
Now, I will say I've seen people agreeing and disagreeing with Thomas HD here, so I want to give my thoughts as well. I didn't include the clips of Thomas HD pretty much crashing out on Queasy's chat. It was entertaining, but definitely Thomas HD was not vibing with the things that Queasy's viewers were saying about him. And again, people saying like, you know, why are you reading Twitch chat mid-tournament? You can't get it, let it get inside your head. But there's a lot of pro players we've seen have this issue with playing with streamers or streaming themselves. And as a streamer myself, I don't compete in front of you guys, and I suck. So it's a little bit different, but pro players, I understand the frustration of people who haven't accomplished as much as you on the game, telling you how you should be playing and, you know, making fun of you, and people just flame, right? You make one mistake and kids will pretend you're the worst player in the world. I get it. It's easy to say, yo, just don't read it, don't pay attention, but sometimes it's hard not to, right? During the tournament is a little bit crazy. Even after the tournament, you know, you go on Twitter, you're trying to vibe out, and in your comments is, oh my gosh, you're so terrible, you sold Queasy, you're the worst player. You know what I mean? It's frustrating. I get that. And as the person who is not streaming, you're playing with the streamer, you have all of the negatives and downsides without really any of the positives. You're getting stream snipes, you have all the toxicity. When you're trying to have, like, you know, a constructive conversation with your teammate, maybe one of you did something wrong, or, you know, you want to bring up like a fault you think they have as a player, then you want to work on it. Even if you try to do it in a positive way, when there's hundreds or thousands of people listening, it's going to mess up the vibes, but it's going to make it more awkward, it's going to make it more difficult. There's a lot of reasons why pro players don't stream or people don't want to play with streamers. So I fully get where Thomas HD is coming on that one. I think if they're turning off comms and adding a little bit of a delay, that's fine. I think if you've got enough of a delay where you can't get stream sniped and the comms are off, at that point, really, it's almost like you're not streaming, honestly. But again, I don't think we're going to see Thomas HD and Queasy queuing it up again next week. Maybe Queasy will stop streaming. He doesn't seem like super committed to it. I honestly thought Queasy was mostly streaming because Venno was streaming and that's who he was playing with. So I thought, hey, if you're streaming, I might as well stream. I do think Queasy's trying to take advantage of the hype around him after globals, but if it's going to cost him solid duos, I think Queasy is the kind of player who would rather just not stream and play with a better player than stream and have to play with worse players. But it's not like Thomas HD is the only one who feels like this. We've seen this again time and time again recently with Mr. Savage struggling to find a solid duo mate, and one of the main reasons is because he's streaming and his community. Now, obviously, Mr. Savage, much bigger streamer than Queasy, much bigger community, but it's similar sort of issues. Again, Thomas HD in one of the clips expresses that he feels like if you're streaming, you've given up on competing. You already have one foot out the door. You're already working on something else in case you don't place, right? You're trying to build up content when you're a pro player. And there's a lot of pros who actually agree with that sentiment. These days, we have a lot of top tier pros streaming. Peterbot's on like day 12 of his stream every day grind, which I never thought I'd see, but Thomas HD definitely isn't alone in this opinion within the pro scene. So I thought I'd show it because a lot of people are asking what's going on with Queasy right now. You know, we've got Swizzy doing so extremely well with Vanya, which I'll talk about in a second. Mustache seems to be chilling out a little bit post globals, but Queasy is at technically almost the peak of his career. here. Why can't he find a solid duo? And it looks like issues like this might be the problem. So who is looking good and where are they dropping in the finals? Let's kick off with NA. We have a team other than Peterbot and Poyo. In first, we have Ark and Kanata, a brand new duo. Now, Ark and Kanata weren't able to play the Div 1 NA Central tournament last week, as Ark wasn't yet Div 1 on NA Central. He was on NA West, but Ark and Kanata now running it up are looking extremely solid. Now, mind you, Ark is currently playing on 40 ping. He's still playing from the West Coast. So if Ark and Kanata make it to FNCS and Ark comes into NA Central for 0 ping, they're looking phenomenal. 992 points in 15 matches is an insane performance from this duo. Kanata's streaming all of it as well, which has been really fun to watch. In second place, we have again the team that I'm looking at right now to try to put a stop to Peterbot and Poyo, especially in the finals. We'll see. Acorn and Bolts in second place on 826. And then rounding out the top three, we have Clicks and Higgs on 765 points. Now, it is worth mentioning with the format in Div Cups right now, qualification is going really, really high. On NA Central, you need 578 points to qualify. On EU, you needed 582 because there's 100 new Div 1 teams in Division 1 every single week because of the Div 2 qualifiers. Now, a lot of people, myself included, a little bit worried about how this format is going to continue throughout the season. You know, in 3 weeks' time, we're going to have 300 new duos in Div 1, and without skill-based matchmaking on, it's going to turn into a battle of the 30 and 40 bombs. Like, if you thought Pete and Poyo were dropping crazy numbers now, it is going to get ridiculous once we have all these teams in there, but we'll have to wait and see. Speaking of Pete and Poyo, they had a rough day one. They weren't even inside the top 100, but as I was saying in my video, as exciting as it is to try to think, oh, maybe they won't do it, can another team take the spot, can they clutch it up? Yeah, they can. When they come out and drop a 33 elimination fifth in one of their first few games, they're very quickly back on pace. They ended up finishing in 26th overall. They looked really good. They brought it back. The NA Finals is looking extremely stacked. I think this is one of the most stacked NA Finals I've seen in a really long time. Like, there's always those, good teams at the top, but usually you'll have a few teams make it through who, maybe aren't quite finals caliber. This lobby is looking ridiculous. If we take a look at the drop map, we might not have our guaranteed winners like it's felt. Peterbot and Poyo are now being contested by Barker and Paz. I talked about this at the start of the season. Barker and Paz, obviously NA West duo who are capable of qualifying on NA Central, and they want to go the Hive as well. Well, they didn't make finals last week. This week they've had, and they're now contesting Pete and Poyo. That should definitely cause Pete some issues. Now, I think Pete and Poyo will get the better of Barker and Paz, but even if they take them down 1 or 2 games out of 6, that's going to cause an impact because pretty much all of our other phenomenal teams are uncontested. So I'm guessing this spawn fight is going to go the way of Pete and Poyo. I don't think that's a crazy, guess. This isn't a full 50-50 drop though. Peterbot and Poyo, especially with the ping advantage, both being central players, will have that advantage over Barker and Paz. But if the fight drags out, especially if they split it east and west or south and north, Barker and Paz can play to drag this fight out, and Pete and Poyo are going to have a lot of issues with third parties. Like I said, some of our other best teams right now are uncontested, and a lot of them are very nearby. We have Ark and Kanata just to their east. They can easily third party this. Curve and Crazer to their northeast. Josh and Chance to their south. Acorn and Bolt are now also uncontested at Rangers Ruin. Clicks and Higgs at OXR base with big launch pads. There's going to be a lot of potential for other teams to clean up this fight, especially if they want to put a stop to Pete and Poyo. We all know if roles are reversed and Pete and Poyo were dropping at OXR and Clicks and Higgs were dropping at the Hive and they were contested and they were doing well, Pete and Poyo's landing on that. So I'm going to see if other teams have that same kind of flair to try to make a play for the first place position. If it's not going to be Pete and Poyo, it finally opens up a position for a lot of our other teams. And again, those are most of the teams I'm looking at. We also have Ritual and Cold, but again, they're contested by Epic Whale and Pump at Dystopia. Ritual and Cold also had a pretty rough day 2 in the Div Cup qualifiers. They only just ended up qualifying in their very last game, but it's opens versus finals. We'll see how they go. Age the Omzo uncontested over at Demons as always. Rapid and Threats, our last week's second place over at Canyon. They could definitely third party off their big pads as well. So things are looking interesting for Peterbot and Poyo. And if you're bored of the Pete Poyo runaway and thinking, oh, they're just going to win every time, there's no point watching, this is going to be the week for you. The Pete haters might finally be eating since duos came back. Outside of Epic Whale versus Cole, we have a few other spawn fights that should be pretty fun to watch. Most of them are NA versus EU. We have Scroll and Velo going up against Bryce and Osid over at Canyon. We have Malibuka and Panzer going up against Shadow and Tyler at Kappa Kappa. We have G-Money and Rise being contested on the southeast part of the map. We have Oliver OG Uncontested, don't know how this happened. Blake and Zen didn't end up making finals after doing so well last week. We get to see our first showing of some of our new duos like Muzz and Reap being uncontested at resistance base. We have a triple con shifty between Kira, Boji, and Slepsy's team. We also have Electro versus Scarebear down the southwest part of the map. Most of our solid teams, though, are looking like they're going to have a really, really good tournament. I'm thinking our top 5 is probably going to be the highest I think it's been so far in the Div Cups, especially once players start to realize that maybe Pete's not going to run away with it. Kind of gives them a bit more hope to try to step up and have some good performances. Clicks and Higgs, last week was their chance before Pete kind of came through and unsettled them. If they can now just settle down, play OXR, and play well, they really could walk away with their Div Cup win they've been looking for. Over on EU, going into day 2, we had a few teams that were outside the pace for top 50 that I really had my eye on. Sky and Marius, brand new duo with a lot of potential, and Swizzy and Vanya, what is currently the front-running duo on EU, they were also outside top 50. Now, they both had very different placements. We had Sky and Marius finishing in first on 898 points. They managed to get over 600 of those points on day 2. 619 points in one day on EU, which is just a ridiculous performance. That duo, again, I had a lot of hope for them. I was really excited. Sky and Scroll splitting up made me a little bit sad, but I wanted to see how Marius could do with Sky. We've never really seen them play together. I was a bit sad to see how poor their day 1 was, and then day 2. That proved the potential they have. Now, Swizzy and Vanya, meanwhile, they almost missed out on their chance to make finals. They qualified by 1 single place. They came 50th on the dot, 3 points clear of not qualifying to finals after they've been playing so well. And when we talk about the drop map in a second, you'll see why that was such a big deal, because Tayson not playing with Mustache this week meant that most likely they're going to be uncontested. They almost missed out on their chance to have what I think is going to be one of the most dominant performances we've seen in EU finals. As for some of our big teams missing out on EU, like I already talked about, Queasy and Thomas not getting across the line. Mr. Savage and Pink had a pretty unfortunate week in the Div Cups. I don't think we'll see them running it back again, even though they weren't really an official duo. We're still waiting to see. Maybe we get Mr. Savage and Focus. Shark is also looking for a duo just for next week. Might be Mr. Savage's chance to jump in there and play with a really solid player right now. Mongrel and Marco unfortunately falling short as well. They made the Eval Cup finals their first tournament together, but unfortunately haven't been able to replicate the same success in the future tournaments. We're not sure whether Mongrel and Marco are going to run it back next week. Their vibes seem good, but their placements aren't quite there right now. Looking at the EU map, we definitely have some front-running teams. I've got my eyes currently on Swizzy and Vanya at the Hive uncontested, coming off the back of a phenomenal Eval Cup. We've only seen them contested by Mustache in the past. Them looking uncon at Hive should be pretty much unbeatable, but we do have a new duo entering the conversation, Chino and Venom. We haven't seen them play a finals yet outside of the Eval Cup. They're uncontested at Dystopia. That could be the team to try to dethrone Swizzy and Vanya right now. Chap and Flixie had a rough last week. I don't really know what happened to them in the finals. I had high hopes, didn't really live up to it, but again, they kind of could have learned from that. Resistance base uncon is very solid. A player and team that I probably shouldn't talk about because they're contested, but it's Pablo and Frodoxy. You can't count Frodoxy out even when he's contested. They are dropping Rangers Ruin against Yako and Kyrie. Now, I don't know how good Yako and Kyrie are off spawn. Apparently, they're currently boot camping in Germany on 0 ping, so they'll have that advantage over Frodoxy, but Fred's the off-spawn GOAT. I know a lot of people right now are slamming Fred. They did just win the Div Cup finals last week. Well, him and Chino did. Pablo is a phenomenal player. Fred has just as much chemistry with Pablo as Chino. I don't see why they can't pull off a phenomenal performance as well, but they are contested. So we'll see whether they can take down Yako, maybe like a 5-1 or a 6-0, and then potentially make a push for the win. I don't think anything less than that is going to be able to do it. I think even if they win like 4-2, Swizzy Vanya Uncon of the Hive is going to be really, really hard to beat. There is plenty of other solid teams that are currently looking good with their job spots as well that could take it. Vidil and Rezon over at the Shafts, Malibuka and Panzer over at Kappa. We have Seti and Damus near the mid-map. We have Nebs and Mappy just to the north of them as well. It's actually insane how the whole northwest of the map is uncontested. That's going to be smooth sailing. Hopefully for most of these teams should be able to kind of navigate this one pretty well. Our other mythic POIs are currently conned. We have Eclipse, Twy versus Sky and Marius for the Mountain. Sky and Marius could be able to walk out of that one pretty cleanly, but the Mountain fight is a little bit awkward, and Eclipse and Twy, you can't count them out. As good as Sky and Marius are at fighting, Eclipse and Twy at least won't go down easily. We have Zabe, Misha versus Rax, Yanis over at Demons as well. Hyper Jewel versus Taste and Upple at Canyon could be a really fun one to watch. Again, Taste and Upple isn't a new duo, I don't believe. I think it is still going to be Taste and Mustache, but like I said, things are a little bit weird with Mustache right now. Don't really know if he's playing. Don't really know what's going on there. So Tayson picked up Upple and still made it through the finals. Hari seeing Cami versus Dam and Blaha on the bridge, two of the Polish teams going at it. We don't often see the Polish teams contesting each other historically, including trios and duos way back before that. So I'm interested to see how that one plays out for them. Pix and Yavko dropping to the south of them over at the tennis court. They're also contested. So either way, this is going to be an extremely fun finals to watch, same as NA. They are both ridiculously stacked. I know the tournament schedule is all over the place, so check if I'm live currently watching the finals. They are today. As of you watching this video, I'll be live on YouTube and Twitch. If you want to swing by, giving away V-Bucks, having a good time, say good day. I'd really appreciate it.